This podcast was inspired by an internship with the Museum of Motherhood. Please visit mommuseum.org for more information about the museum, to find out how you can get involved, and to help us strengthen our wonderful community of mothers. Again, that is mommuseum.org. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Amanda.
And we're sisters.
We are both toddler moms, but we have very different experiences of motherhood.
So, we are on a mission to talk to different moms who all have different experiences.
With a whole lot of laughter, tears, and probably coffee, we embark on a journey to experience motherhood through the eyes of others.
Please join us on this journey as we explore motherhood through funny, loving, and very real memories.
This is Mom Talks with My Sister.
Welcome back to Mom Talks with My Sister and her bad voice.
You know what, though? I have a feeling this is going to be the last one with your bad voice.
I also have that feeling. I wonder why.
Because we're good at strategically planning.
You look like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, works out. But it's been tough, and I think that, this is something that goes into the idea of making a podcast, and you don't realize how much work goes into it when it comes to finding guests, recording with guests. We've had some reschedules because it's a mom podcast and kids get sick. Mm-hmm. We've had technical difficulties because this isn't our full-time job. Right. And then this just happens. Your voice packs up and leaves, says bye, see you never, and you just you're in the Army, you Charlie Mike, which means CM, Charlie Mike in the phonetic alphabet, continue mission.
Oh, look at that. I'm going to do the rainbow, the more you know.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So if I ever say to you, Amanda, Charlie Mike, you know what it means? No.
I think I like that better than keep calm, carry on.
Yeah, right. Just Charlie Mike.
Just Charlie Mike, it's fine.
Right? So
the other thing that I think we need to address is the other elephant in the room. You will hear background noise in this episode. But you know what? It's like you said before, it's a mom podcast. So we do what we can. So we're gonna do our best.
There might be some husbands. There might be some children. There might be a grandmother. You never know.
You never know. You never know who could pop in.
It's going to be a surprise.
Maybe a dog.
It might be a dog, too. There's
too.
One of those. So. All right. So that said, I started last time for a mom moment, so you start this time.
Okay. So I have a mom moment, but really, it's an aunt moment.
I'm so excited.
You wait till you hear this story.
Okay.
So I picked my daughter up from daycare, and she's got this this girl who is a little bit older there, who she's friends with, who she goes to, I think she's in like middle school. She's probably going to be like a 7th grader or something next year, maybe a little bit younger than that. But regardless, picked her up, and they have become, since my daughter's been going to this daycare, they have become like best buddies. Like they were like literally best friends. Like they get each other like Valentine's Day gifts and Christmas gifts, and like just they're so cute together.
I just need to say that I absolutely love it when middle schoolers befriend the little kids.
Yes.
Because the same thing happened at my son's daycare.
Yeah.
And it's just like they get so excited to see the little kids, and they don't have to.
Right.
And you know that it's like a genuine choice, and it's very sweet.
So it's one of those things that, like, we have memories when we were kids of, like being kind to other kids. I think it's cool that they're developing that relationship too, right? But I picked my daughter up, and her this older friend that she has at daycare said to me, she goes, she kept talking about her friend. And I was like, what do you mean she kept talking about her friend? I was like, oh, does she have like an imaginary friend already? Like, I mean, I know we're almost 3, but like, is this like when it starts? And she goes, yeah, she kept saying, Bethany. And I was like, that's her aunt. And she's like, yeah, Bethany's my friend.
Oh my God, I'm so her friend.
So that is my mom/aunt moment of the week. Because really, this is not about me. This was a moment for you.
I'm obsessed.
I know.
Oh my
she
God.
loves you.
I watched this TikTok the other day, and I almost sent it to you, but I didn't. And it was like the cool aunt in quotes, and this this woman was sitting there Google searching what the kid was saying, and she was like Google searching how to reply, and it was like all this new slang, right? And she was like, no cap, and the kid's like, no cap, and she's like, 100, and the kid's like, I don't even know what it was. It was all this like young kid slang, and I was like, that's gonna be me as the cool aunt. I'm gonna be like, let me just give that a goog. Yeah, you can still say that these days. Give it a goog. Like, damn it.
I love it.
But that's gonna be me. I'm always gonna be her favorite. I'm totally gonna be the one who bails her out of things. I'm sorry, Amanda, but she's gonna call me in the middle of the night, and she'll always be safe. I'll make sure she's safe, but I gotta be that one that's like, hey, I got you. Don't be scared to call me.
Yes.
So
I love it. Yeah.
and you can do that for my son if you want.
100%. But so what was your mom moment of the week?
Okay, so my mom moment is kind of a scary. Well, it's not scary at all. Kind of a sad. Kind of a funny.
Okay.
Kind of an ominous moment. You'll understand in a moment. So, my son wasn't feeling well, and I think ultimately, in the end of all of this, I think he drank too much juice too fast, was running around outside like a madman. So we're outside, and we're playing, and all of a sudden he says, in. And I'm like, in, dude, like, I have to, like, drag you by your ankles to go inside. Like, what do you mean in? And he says, in, and he walks over and he pulls the door open, and he just goes and he sits down on the kitchen floor. And my son does not stop moving. And he's sitting there, and I walked in, and I was like, buddy, do you not feel well? And my husband went over and picked him up, and he's like, he's kind of warm. I was like, well, let's, like, get him some juice or whatever, like, let him sit on the couch. And he sits on the couch, and he is not moving. We put on one of his favorite movies, and he covers himself with a blanket, and he's just not moving. And I said to Ryan, my husband, I said, I don't know, he's never thrown up. Like, literally, my son has never thrown up before. And I said, knock on wood. And Ryan looks at me and says, why would you say that? I said, what? And he goes, that's like saying, at least I'm not pregnant. And I was like, but I'm not pregnant. And he goes, why would you say that? And I was like, I don't know. It's like 20 minutes goes by, right? All of a sudden, my son sits bolt upright. And I was like, oh my God. And he pukes. And I thankfully caught all of it in the blanket.
And the first time, like, they puke, is that, like, their mouth's just open and they don't really know what's happening, and it's just, like, this, like, stream.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I catch all this puke in the blanket, and I scream, I need a bucket! So he comes running with a bucket. We take care of my son. He pukes into the bucket. We get him a new blanket. We change him. He's now crying. Like, I feel awful. And my husband looks at me and goes, well, you're taking a pregnancy test next week. I was like, I guess I can't fight on it.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll let you know how it goes.
You'll have to report back on how that went.
And we'll all find out together. Maybe I will end up being like Elena.
Right.
And maybe my voice packed up and left because I was pregnant after all.
Oh, boy.
I'm not pregnant.
Good luck with that.
I'm not pregnant. I'm saying it right here, right now.
Putting it out into the universe so it doesn't happen.
Goodness, I'm not pregnant. So that is what I have today. So,
Those are good stories.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think they were really good. And I'm so glad that I'm her favorite friend.
You are the friend, too, the favorite friend. Just remember, when it's time to be an aunt, you have to be an aunt. Not all, you can't be your best friend all the time. You need to understand that.
All right, but what does it mean? As an aunt, what are my responsibilities?
Just to be responsible.
Well, I can do that.
Okay.
As long as you don't require too much. I'm already a mom, so I feel like Anne has to differentiate. There's got to be a line. All right, so we're going to move on to our guest this week. And this week, we are going to be hearing from Kim, our mom.
Mama Kim again!
Again! Very exciting. Today's topic is a little bit more difficult to hear. So if you feel that you want to stop here and come back next week, that's totally fine, because today we will be discussing her experience of loss of a baby.
Yeah, so this is going to be a tough topic. So like Bethany said, if you feel like you cannot proceed, we understand that is okay. Also, I would like to just say on behalf of our mom that she is a very fun lady. And even though we've had two very tough topics that we are discussing with her, there's also a lot of very happy moments that we've had. But unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, because maybe there's some things, within her dealing with some of the things that she's had to deal with that have helped her in other areas of her life, as well as, us. So, yes. So with this topic, if you feel like you need to stop, we understand.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that Mom is a very fun person, because in her pre-interview questionnaire, she describes herself as, and I quote, "I'm a pretty boring person, but my greatest accomplishment is being a mom." So
Love that.
I still describe her as fun. I think if fun is a great description.
Fun.
She thinks she's pretty boring, but hey.
And you know what? She's a really nice lady.
She's a really nice lady.
So, with that really nice lady, welcome back to the pod.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Literally anytime. Got any more experiences to pepper us with before we start?
I'm boring, so.
Get out of here. All right. So today is a little bit more of a somber episode. We are going to try to keep it light as much as we can, but obviously we know this is going to be a difficult conversation.
We learned the last time you were on the podcast, Mom. We learned a little bit about how you have 4 children, and I am your oldest, and Bethany is your second. But in between us, there was another child. So why don't you kind of, I guess, get into after you had me, which I was a little bit of a surprise. Not like you weren't trying, but you weren't not trying type of a thing.
Right, it was, I'm married now. If I get pregnant, I get pregnant. If I don't, I don't. And I did. Quick.
You did. And so then after that, my understanding is that you were trying for another child.
No.
Okay, we'll take
That's
that out.
me.
That's you.
I'll explain.
Okay, here we go.
So after you were born, Amanda, we were poor. We were broke because I didn't think about
Daycare?
did not think about daycare.
Same.
So we had this perfect plan that I would get pregnant the summer before, or the year before you started school. I would have the baby in June. So this was my perfect plan, so that I could stay home from work for 3 months, go back right after your birthday when you started school. Then I would only have one in daycare because you went to all-day kindergarten. So that was my great plan. So that meant that I had to get pregnant in, let me do the math in my head, September of 1990.
Okay.
So that I would have the baby in June of 1991. So we had this great plan. Get pregnant September of 1990, have a baby in June of 1991. So when Amanda went to school in September of 91, I would only have one in daycare. Well, that didn't work out because, surprise, surprise, Fertile Myrtle here got pregnant a year early. So I got pregnant in September of 1989, and I had a baby that was due in June of 1990.
So you would have had
So
two
I
in
would have
daycare.
had 2 in daycare. Fretted about that a little bit, but what was I supposed to do? I was, going to have a baby. So I was excited. Everything was okay. I didn't, I was pregnant. I was more sick with morning sickness with you, Amanda, than I was with this baby, but I looked really pale all the time. Don't know why. I wasn't really gaining weight. Don't know why. But, I'd go to my visits and everything was good.
And I mean, and obviously too, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mom, but obviously too, not that it was that long ago, but it was long enough ago that there wasn't the same type of technology, you know, or the same type of testing that you can get nowadays, right?
Right.
I would imagine.
So I got to about 16 weeks, and I woke up and I was having some bleeding, and I didn't experience that with you at all. And I didn't expect to experience that. But with me not feeling well and all of that, I called the doctor, and they brought me in, and they said, well, you know, it could just be, you know, a late, you know, implantation or a deeper implantation of the pregnancy than, you know, we would usually see. But, you know, just go home, stay off your feet a little bit, and, you know, we'll do an ultrasound.
Before we go too far into the pregnancy, Amanda at this time was 3.
She was 3 going to be 4
in
September.
So did you tell her at this point that you were expecting another baby, or did she not know?
We had talked about it, but I don't know if she really knew, didn't really
My
understand.
only memory of this comes later.
Okay, I just wondered for future when you did end up with the ending that how that impacted Amanda. So
we went home that night, and the bleeding seemed to, you know, get less. But I went in for an ultrasound, and they did a transvaginal ultrasound so they could see things better. And they said they saw a little spot of where it looked like the placenta may have like just pulled away from the uterine wall a little bit. And, you know, they said, we just want you to take it easy. And they said, would you like to know whether you're having a boy or a girl? And at that point I was like, yeah, you know, I was scared that something was wrong because this was a totally different experience in my pregnancy with you. So they checked, and at that number of weeks they could see that it was a boy. And I was like, girl, boy, yes. So, you know, we started thinking of boys' names, and, you know, picked out a boy's name, but I still wasn't feeling great. And a couple of weeks later, I was resting on the couch, and I felt like I just needed to like put my feet like up. I don't know why, but it just felt better to have my feet up. So I was laying on the couch, and I had my legs like up on the back of the couch. And all of a sudden,
you guys didn't have to have your water broken.
you did.
I did.
Pop.
That was like a crochet hook looking kind of a thing that they just.
She didn't see it.
I didn't see it. She didn't tell me.
Oh, I gotta look at that stuff.
Well, she just did it without telling
She just
me.
did it without. Yeah, she didn't tell me.
Yeah,
But
I
she
guess it was
still
kind of like
experienced
that.
same.
So-
Yeah, that same. That's. I
Yeah,
felt
it was
it.
like a
I heard
snapping.
it.
Because
Yeah.
that's how I
Okay.
experienced
Yeah.
my water breaking.
So I was
that
like,
kind of pop.
what's that?
Would you say it was similar to that or nothing like that?
My water never, with any of you, my water never broke.
Okay.
They always had to break my water. But as soon as they broke my water, it was, I mean, my pregnancies were, total labor for you was 6 hours. Total labor for you was 3 hours. Corey was just over an hour, and Allison was 1 hour and 1 minute.
But I think because like when we described it before, I described it like the snap of your nail. I don't have nails right now, but you do.
I guess it kind of felt like that when they, since you guys didn't have to have your water broken.
You did.
I did.
That was like a crochet hook looking kind of a thing that they just.
She didn't see it.
I didn't see it. She didn't tell me.
Oh, I gotta look at that stuff.
Well, she just did it without telling
She just
me.
did it without. Yeah, she didn't tell me.
Yeah,
But
I
she
guess it
still
was kind of like
experienced
that.
same.
Yeah, that same. I
Yeah, it
felt
was like
it.
a
I heard
snapping.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, what the heck was that? But I didn't have like, I thought at first, I was like, am I gonna have like, did my water just break or whatever? When I heard it, I was like, it was just strange.
And I'm sorry. How many weeks were you at this point?
21. Yeah. Almost 21.
Okay.
So I literally went into the bathroom, and I just remember saying to your father, we have to go to the hospital. He's like, oh. what? So we had to call my mom to come watch you. And we got into the hospital and they did an ultrasound and they said, we'll try to stop this. And I forget the name of the drug that they gave me. I can't remember. They gave me a drug to try and stop contractions. But after they did the ultrasound, they said, we're not going to be able to stop this. You're going to go into labor and there's really nothing that we can do. Because they said if you had been 3 weeks more, we would have tried to do heroic efforts. But they said at this point, I was just under 21 weeks. They said that the baby would probably have severe lung problems because her lungs weren't mature enough. And I begged them to try to do something. And they just said there was nothing that they could do. And I said, so now what? And they said, you're going to go into labor and you're going to have the baby. I said, I have to wait and deliver a baby that you're telling me will, it's not going to make it? And they're like, that's pretty much it. So I just cried and waited for things to happen.
Was Dad with you?
Yes.
Well, I know this is a mom podcast, but can I ask what Dad's reaction was?
I'm actually also I was going to ask the same question.
He pretty much, he cried as well. I mean, he really wanted a boy, and this was his boy. So, we just kind of waited, and I all of a sudden started feeling contractions, and it didn't take long. And they didn't take us anywhere special, anywhere quiet. We were just in a room in the emergency room. And I think they've changed this a lot now. I mean, I didn't go up to the labor floor. Nothing.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And bedside manner has come a long way.
Oh yeah, that's definitely different. And there's other things that happened that I'll explain that were very unfortunate that would never happen now. Because again, this was in 1990. Like when I was pregnant with you, I never even had an ultrasound. Not one.
Yeah.
So.
By you, she means Amanda.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
It was. I don't want to make this sound like callous or whatever, but having a baby that's that small, it literally felt like pooping. It wasn't like having a baby, right, other than, like the contractions. But
were the contractions as severe?
I don't remember them being severe. I just knew that I was bleeding and that, they had to.
I'm sure it was almost like a shock too, right?
I was shocked.
When your body goes into shock like that, and they say that you don't feel pain, and so I'm sure.
I don't remember it being painful. I don't, which is a good thing, I guess.
Right.
But the pain wasn't down like having baby pain. The pain was in my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was emotional pain, not physical.
Yes.
Now, when you delivered, did they have just an emergency doctor come in, or did they have an OB come in?
My OB's partner was there.
Okay.
And he wasn't a very touchy-feely, he wasn't a warm hug kind of a guy. He was just very matter-of-fact, like very, just this is what happens and here you go. And so he was born and he weighed 12 ounces. So it was like the size of a can of Coke, just a regular can of soda, can of beer, whatever. His eyes were fused shut. But he was breathing so shallow. I thought he was born sleeping, I was stillborn. But nobody said anything to me. So they wrapped him in a blanket Sorry.
No, it's okay, Mom.
I know we're all crying.
No, this is a tough one. We knew it was going to be.
They wrapped him in a little blanket and they handed him to us. He was, just barely fitting our hands, but they put a hat on him and handed him to us. And it seemed like we were holding him for quite a while. And then all of a sudden, he just took this gasping breath, and it scared the hell out of me because I did not know that. I thought he was dead. And I called the nurse and I was like, he's breathing. And she said, yeah, he's, he'll go on his own, but, he's not going to make it. So we just held him, and he lived for about 5 hours.
I didn't even know. Sorry. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah. And, we just held him until, they said, I don't even remember them coming in and saying it was time, or if we just said, we said our goodbyes, whatever. And we didn't have cell phones then, so there was, there was no way for us to take pictures. And we didn't even think about, bringing a camera or a video camera or anything like that for this situation. I thought maybe I'd go in and they'd say, oh yeah, it's just more of what happened before, and we'll get the bleeding stopped and you'll be fine. So they came in and they took like Polaroid pictures, and they asked us if we wanted them. And I said to myself then, no, I don't want them. And I kick myself now for that, but I didn't want to remember him like that.
Right.
So they said, well, if you change your mind, we keep, we'll take his blanket and we'll take everything and we'll put it in a box and you can call and get it. So I just remember they just sent us home that night. They said, now, do you want to have a funeral, or, what do you want to do? I had no idea. And I just said, because they had something that they called ultimate disposal, which I didn't know then what I know now about that. And I found out later when it was too late. And I wasn't trying to be cold. I was just in shock. I didn't even know how to react to any of this. And I said, no, you can do ultimate disposal, which means he's cremated. But I didn't get any ashes. I didn't get anything, because when they do something called ultimate disposal, anybody that they get goes into a collective, and they're cremated together. So when I was not completely over the shock of it all, but they let us go home that night, and then of course you got to tell everybody, which that sucked. Just you got to call everybody and say, we're good, but this is what happened. And then when I got over the shock of it, I was like, what? I want that stuff. I want his blanket. And actually, they let us take the blanket home that night. They gave us a box. So I had his blanket and I had a little hat that he was in. But as far as the pictures, I wanted to get them. But they said that they had gotten rid of them. They said they should have kept them, and they did not. So I never got them. But it doesn't bring him back. So and like I said, I probably would never look at them again, because it was just, it's just it's shocking how fragile but how much they look like a baby. I mean, they're a baby. Had all 10 fingers. He had all 10 fingers. He had all 10 toes. His skin was very transparent, but that was my baby. So we decided we named him Eric Jonathan because your dad wanted to call him EJ. So we got a birth certificate and a death certificate that were both dated the same day. But we went home, and it almost, the hardest part for me after that was I breastfed all of you guys. Well, my milk came in, and it was so painful. I mean, I had like rocks for boobs, and it was so, and then it just brought back all the, this wouldn't be happening if I had a baby that could, take care of this for me. So, and my brother had just had a baby a month before that. So that was hard. I was happy for them, but it was a little hard to see her just because, you thought you were going to have cousins growing up together. But yeah, that's how that piece of it went.
I know, I don't know where to go from here.
So when you got home and you told Amanda, do you remember having to tell her? Do you remember how she reacted, if she even understood?
I remember telling her, and I don't know that she really, I just remember her saying, well, it's okay. You can have another baby.
And I mean, in an innocent little kid's,
yes,
view of the world, she wasn't wrong. It's okay. You can do it again.
Because I remember the conversation is, at least this was my memory of it. And again, we're talking very young, but, I've shared previously how I have very early memories. But I remember asking you, Mommy, where's the baby?
Yes, you did ask me that. I came home and you did say, Mommy, where's the baby? And I said, the baby went to heaven. Mm-hmm. And you said, but that's okay. You can have another baby. Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
When was the last time we all sat together and sobbed?
I know. Therapy. This is our therapy.
And it's something growing up. Again, something growing up that we've known was part of our life. This is not something that we talk about. And I think for a lot of women who experience this is not something that they talk about. And it's okay, because who wants to, relive this trauma? This is heartbreaking. I can't imagine sitting in your shoes telling your story this way so openly and vulnerably. And, we're crying, and I wasn't even born yet. But I think that it's so good to have women like you that are willing to open up about their experience and say it's okay to talk about. Moreover, it's important to talk about. Right. A very good friend of mine recently dealt with a different but similar situation. And her big thing, too, is that she wants to talk about it because she doesn't want people to feel alienated. And she may or may not do the podcast one day. I don't know. But people, you're not alone when you lose a child, and it's not something that goes away. So it's important to talk about, even if it's 32 years later.
Right. No, and I think too, though, that it's sitting here talking about it, like you said, it's something that we've known, for us as siblings, we knew about it our whole lives, and we've shared stories, or you've kind of told us little things here and there, but to sit down and have an in-depth conversation like this, but it's never anything that we've shied away from, right?
Right. I mean, it's not anything that, I'm not one of those people that someone asks me how many children I have. I say 4. I don't say 5 and 1 died. I'm just, that's not.
I feel like bringing that up just is constantly bringing up pain too.
Right.
Because you have 4.
I have 4.
You had 5.
I did.
And now you have 4.
Right.
And it's also, to each their own, even if there are people out there that, say, especially no matter how long or short of a period their child may have lived, it's kind of how you decide as a person how to deal with it and handle it. And I don't want to say get through it, because that's not really the fair statement to say, but how you, just process it and get through your life.
Right. The one thing that I will say about it is that it's something that I would never wish on my worst enemy, because you deal with things like that because you have to, and you try not to dwell on it, but the very act of it and the shock of it and all of that is very tough, and it's something that you really, really don't want anyone else to experience.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very, I don't know, it's weird saying this to my mom, but I think that's a very, mature stance on it. Not feeling like, I don't know.
So obviously today things are a little bit different. You didn't post up on social media that you were expecting, so you had a smaller community of people to inform about the loss. But what was that like for you when people asked you, what happened to the baby, or weren't you expecting, or?
I never shied away from telling someone if they asked me. I didn't go out and share the information with, say there was someone that I hadn't told. I didn't say, oh, you know what, I was pregnant and I lost the baby, so it was nothing like that. But if somebody asked me, I was honest, and I'd explain to them, and that I had a placental abruption, which is where the placenta pulls away from the uterine wall, and then the baby can't get the oxygen and the nutrition that they need, and when that happens, it causes bleeding, and that's how I knew I was in trouble. And when I got there, they said there was nothing they could do to stop it, and it would just get worse, and that I was going to lose the baby. So I would just explain, but I didn't openly share with just everybody. Basically it was family and people I worked with, and because I didn't, like you said, there was no Facebook, so there wasn't people I went to high school with that I, knew I was pregnant and would follow up, which, was a good thing. So basically it was just family and close friends. Yeah. And then afterwards, I didn't, like I said, I didn't go around and tell people, oh, I have 5 children, but 1 died. If someone asks me, now, I remember. It's important for me to remember, but I don't need to share that with other people. Right. I have 4 beautiful children. That's what I have.
Yeah. So, moving beyond the loss of Eric, you had more children, obviously, at this point. Amanda was your only. And then you had 3 children following Eric. What was that like, moving forward from the loss?
I knew that I wanted to have another baby. The doctor, said when I went for my follow-ups, you probably don't want to get pregnant for a while. And like I'd said earlier, my ultimate plan was to be pregnant in September of 1990 and have a baby in June of 1991. So in September, I got pregnant with Bethany. And my plan came to fruition. It worked exactly the way I wanted it to, because you were born in June of 1991. Amanda started kindergarten in September of 1991, and I only had 1 in daycare. So as sad as, losing Eric was, and I would not give back paying for daycare.
Right.
if he would have lived. But then I think to myself, I probably wouldn't have had you.
Right.
But then again, maybe I would, because Corey was born a year after you.
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know. But, you know, we just moved forward. And the scariest thing was when I was 12 weeks pregnant with you, I had bleeding. And I just remember being in the bathroom and I saw the blood and I freaked out inside my head. Not outwardly, but I freaked out inside my head. And I remember telling your dad, and he goes, "Oh no, here we go again." So we had to go in, had another ultrasound. They found nothing. It never happened again. And everything went as planned. It was a perfectly normal pregnancy, other than that one time that I had the little bit of bleeding.
And did they ever give you a reason for that? Was that just deeper implantation bleeding like they suspected?
That's what they said. It was probably just that. I mean, they were a little worried at first when I told them what happened before, but they didn't see any signs of that. And everything progressed normally, and I don't know. I can't help but feel that something was wrong with that pregnancy from the beginning, because I just didn't, like, I felt, you know, how they say, oh, you're glowing when you're pregnant and all of that. I felt good with Amanda. I didn't feel right. Now, I've seen pictures back from then when I was pregnant, and I did not look good. I was pale, and I wasn't gaining weight, and I was skinny back then, so not gaining weight.
But I think that's big too, is to, you know your body best, right? Like, you know, you have to listen to the signs of your body, because I know my body really well. The night that I got pregnant might not have been the exact night, but it was probably, I think it was 2 nights later, because we were at camp. And I looked at Ryan and I said, "I'm pregnant." And he said, "You don't know that." And I said, "I do know that." I said, "I know that I'm pregnant. I can feel it. I know that I am pregnant." You know, and sure enough, I was pregnant. And I talked to my doctor about it, and I said I was having cramping that I don't normally have. Like, it was very distinct and it was very different. And she said some women can feel the implantation process happening. She said most women cannot, some women can. And I absolutely believe that I was feeling the implantation process, but that's because I know my body and I was listening to my body, right? And I think in this instance with you, the same thing goes with red flags, not just with getting pregnant. It's the red flags of, hey, something's not right. And making sure that you listen to those red flags that your body is giving you and following up with them. Because you know what? Who cares if the doctor thinks you're overreacting?
Exactly.
You know, you go in and you speak up for yourself and you say, no, there's something wrong. So I ended up having preterm labor, and I kept telling my doctor, there's something not right. There's something not right. I'm having these horrible pains. I don't know what they are. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and she finally said, okay, go on into the ER. And I went and I was having preterm labor contractions. And it was in March. I will never forget this date. It was March 5th. And I was in the hospital, and I was terrified. Again, like we discussed with your daughter having the rapid spike in temperature and being scared of a seizure because of our life experiences. When I went into preterm labor contractions, I was terrified because of our life experiences with what you went through with Eric. So listen to your bodies, listen to yourselves. You know yourself best. So. Yeah. Oof. Do you have anything else you want to share regarding your experience or anything for other moms that may be dealing with this?
You just got to take it one day at a time afterwards, and no one can tell you what's normal to feel and what's not normal to feel. And, you know, the whole... It's hard for people to know what to say to you, too. And I understand that. because you get a lot of, oh, I can't imagine. And inside you're going, no, you're right, you can't.
Right.
Or you get, oh, I know how you feel. And that's one thing you don't want to hear, but they don't know what to say. What do you say to someone? And, I just kind of took what they said with a grain of salt, because I know that no one was happy that it happened, and no one, meant to say anything wrong. But you're just super sensitive because your hormones are going after that, because your body's trying to get back to normal. Your uterus has to shrink down, and your hormones are just going and going, and you just kind of got to do what's right for you. And if you want to talk about it, talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it until you're ready. You just got to do what feels right to you.
I think that's good advice, Mom.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So,
and the only other thing I'm going to say is that you try to put it out of your head. But for me, I don't outwardly think about it, but it's there. And it was a life that you created that I want to say in the grand scheme of my life, it probably made a difference, because if that hadn't happened, the rest of my life would have been different.
Yeah.
Because I may not have, had Bethany. I may not have had Corey. I probably would not have had Allison. So I'm a firm believer in things happen for a reason, whether they're good things or bad things. And, the bad things suck. But you deal with them the best that you can, and you move on, and you have memories. They're not always things you want to remember, but it's part of your life. So you turn that page and you just keep reading and keep going. Next chapter.
That's beautiful, Mom.
that's beautiful. Do you want to ask a mom this week?
Let's ask a mom.
All right, let's ask a mom.
All right.
Mom, would you be so kind as to spin this wonderful wheel that is in front of you? We are going to ask you another question from friends, acquaintances, buddies of buddies of ours that do not yet have children of their own, that would like a specific question answered by women that do. Let us know what you got.
Here we go.
That was a solid thing.
I know, right? She's going Wheel of Fortune. Today's question comes from Dee. She's 59 years old, and she has chosen to say that she does not fit into any of the situations above, which were, I do not want children, I do not have children, or I do not know. Her question, this is a really great question. This is a great question, Dee. How do you handle an angry child in a public setting that you have no way out of?
I love this question.
This is a really good question, and Mom, I feel like you're gonna have a completely different ability to answer this question because of Allison and her inability to control her anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say with Allison, I have to remove her from the situation. If there's no way out of it, then with her, you can't reason with her. I just kind of have to try to get, if there's no one else there that can help me, because with Allison and her special needs, if you can get her away from the person she's angry with or out of the situation, it's much better to have that. But with a child without special needs, geez, I guess I would just say you got to handle it with, you have to be calm so that they can't, because your anger or your frustration then makes them more frustrated or more angry. I would try to get their mind off of whatever it is and try to get them into another, thinking about something else that would take their mind off of it. That's how I would handle it.
Yeah, I was gonna, or do you want to go? Sorry. No. So that's kind of what I was gonna say is distraction is probably my number one tactic. I will say I'm gonna kind of do a two-parter kind of thing here. So with Allison, one of the times that she has gone to Disney's, because we talked about how Allison goes to Disney World every year because she's the favorite child. It's fine.
She's the favorite.
No, but like there was a situation where I think we were in like the Lion King show or something, and she was having an absolute meltdown. She did not want to be there.
The tiki room.
It was the tiki room, and she did not want to be there. And luckily, we did have, it was both mom and I there to try to get her to like, you know, calm down a little bit. But she's, you know, like a child, very angry, yelling, being loud, being disruptive to people around her, you know, during, you know, a show essentially. And, you know, trying to remove her from that as best we could. But I will say with my own child, in situations where, you know, she's having a complete meltdown in a situation that you're like, dear God, please do not do this here. Please, let's hold this together. I was gonna say literally what you said, Mom, and we've never talked about this, so I must have learned from the best. No, but like trying to, if we can't remove from the situation, remain calm, remain like as, even though on the inside you're having a total meltdown yourself because you're like, oh my God, stop. Like, but you have to just kind of distract from that, remain calm and distract. Like there'll be times where it's like she's having a meltdown about like this thing in this moment right here, Mommy, look at this. I can't handle this. Oh my gosh, what do I do? And I'm like, have you seen the cloud in the sky? Like, you know, where it's like, or did you see that purple dot on the wall? Where? There may not be a purple dot on the wall, but I'm going to distract her to get her to look at that purple dot and find that purple dot that doesn't exist, because now we're taking away that whatever's upsetting her. That is my experience so far, just having a toddler and dealing with Allison.
Let's hear Bethany's
I
answer.
am really interested to hear this answer.
I don't have a good answer. I'm ashamed. I outwardly remain calm. I inwardly panic, but my outward remaining calm, it tends to be a shutdown. I don't know what to do. I'm so bad at this. And so I find that I get myself stuck between the judgmental person that I was prior to having a kid of, why would you let your child behave that way? Now I get it. I'm sorry I was so judgmental. Mm-hmm. And now, like, I'm not letting him. I'm trying my best, and he's going to do what he's going to do, right? So there's this part of me that's like, I don't want to be that person that I used to judge. But also, I don't want to remove him every time, because as a human being, he needs to learn how to be in a public situation. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be one of those parents that just removes my child from that situation, because then he's going to think, well, I don't want to be here. Let me just start acting up so that I go, right? So at this point in my life, I don't have a very good answer for this. I guess I try to distract. I'm not a big proponent of snacks. So like a lot of people who will go to food to keep their kids calm, I personally choose not to. If it's bad enough, I will. I guess I just kind of play it by ear for the specific situation, and you know how much leeway I have for leaving the situation, how much leeway I have with the people that I'm with. Because if he's misbehaving in a friend or a family member's house, that's going to be very different than being in a restaurant with, you know, friends or family and then a bunch of strangers. But also, I'm not going to bring him to a situation like that.
You brought up Disney before, and Allison having her meltdown in the tiki room.
Because there was no way out of that.
Yes.
Like, because you're in...
I just remember the old couple that was next to us when she went, no! I just remember their heads like snapped, because she looks like an adult.
Right.
But they didn't realize. But I did have one time at Disney where a cast member saw that I was struggling with her because she was upset about a character meet and greet. We waited in line. We just got up there, and it was time for the character's break.
Oh, no.
So the character went off, and she's like, no, I want to see the character. And I tried to explain to her that they're coming back. And the cast member was very nice and started talking to her. And it totally distracted her from, what was happening, because we stayed right there. And she started telling a story about, it was one of the Jungle Book characters. And she started telling a story about how somebody was trashing the camp over, and they had to go check on the camp to make sure that the camp was okay, but they would be coming back. And it was just great because someone stepped in and helped when they knew that I was struggling.
See, now that's huge, right? It's when you step in to help a stranger. Mm-hmm. And this is what I've learned. This is one of the biggest things, and I don't remember if we've already talked about this, so I don't want to harp on it. Stop me if we've already covered this. But I have learned so much, my husband and myself, we talk about this all the time. When we're in a store and it's always the elderly couples and our son is screaming and we're just like, buddy, we gotta finish grocery shopping. And they're like, you're doing great. Like, we have all been there. Don't you worry. He's not bothering a soul. Like, you guys are doing great. That goes so far. And like I said, I was such a judgmental, excuse my French, bitch before I was a parent. I was. And I'll be the first one to say that about myself. Like, I looked at other parents and I was like, my child, if I ever have children, which at that point I didn't want children, but I would never let my child act like that. Nope, I would remove him from the situation. And now as a parent, like, I'm cognizant of how just ignorant I was to the situation, that because so many parents struggle and they don't want to disrupt the public. I don't want to disrupt the public, but it's like when a stranger steps in and even just offers you those words of, you're doing awesome, or offers to distract your kid for you. Like, that goes so far. Yeah. And I, for one, like, I am finding myself being that parent for other people. And I'm like, I'll talk to their kid if their kid starts screaming or whatever, right. And a lot of the times they thank me and, it does. It
goes a long way.
When you were little, Amanda, I don't know why, you had a daycare that you absolutely loved, Teddy Bear Daycare. And there was one day that you were just giving me such a hassle about, you kept running off and you didn't want to put your coat on. It was winter. You did not want to put your coat on. You wanted to stay with Doreen. You didn't want to leave. And I just was talking to her and I said, okay, it's time to go. If you don't want to put your coat on, you don't have to put your coat on. If you don't want to put your boots on, you don't have to put your boots on, but we're leaving. And I literally picked you up and I put you on my shoulder and walked you out the door. And the next day, the daycare director said, she said, can I talk to you for a minute? And I was like, uh-oh.
Like, am I in trouble for what did I do?
Are you going to
She didn't have a coat on.
Say I abused my child or something? And she goes, I just want to let you know that yesterday what happened. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. Because I was 22 years old. No, I was probably 24 because you were about 2 years old. Okay. And, so fairly new parent. And she says, I just want to let you know that yesterday, that whole situation with Amanda not wanting to leave, you handled that perfectly. You did not let her take charge. You took charge. You let her know. And in my head, I went, yeah, I'm rocking being a mom.
That's that like self high five.
Yes. You've got to take those
but
wins.
It helps, like you said, to hear those words and know that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think on that note, moms, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
We are so proud of you.
Each and every one of you out there raising your kids, doing it day by day, No matter your situation, you got this, and we will be your cheerleaders.
Oh, yeah.
And do you want to know why? Because all three of us sitting at this table right now, we're cheerleaders, so we got you. Got you.
Oh, go moms, go.
Hell yeah.
Who knew we were going to cheer on this podcast? And now we have like a group of listeners that's like, well, I'm out.
I'm so out.
This is
Told
done.
you, they told you I was fun.
I thought I liked you guys, but... So, all right. Well, Mom, thank you so much for joining us again and talking about this incredibly difficult topic.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as tough as it started, and we tried to keep it as light as possible. We understand that there was a lot of tears flowing. I'm sure not just by us sitting here right now, but people listening. But to come back and kind of end it on a better note. But there are now, the good thing I think is that there are resources out there for people. Much more than unfortunately you and generations and before you that had to deal with this kind of stuff. So
Things have changed a lot.
for the good, right? We can't always say that, but I think for something like this and this topic, I think that things have really come a long way.
Right down to what they can do that early in a pregnancy. There's a lot more things that they can do, and there's a lot more resources to help you when there is an ending that's not what you want.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget to listen to your own body. Listen to yourself. You know you best. So, all right, until next time, hopefully my voice will be back. Hopefully her vacation will have been, just short.
She doesn't need a vacation from her vacation.
Vacation from her vacation. She's got to come back. All right, it's time to get back to work.
That's right.
All right, guys, love you.
Thank you for joining us. Love you.
Love you, bye. So you're saying she's lying? I'm just saying she's a really nice lady.
She's a really nice lady. So, with that, really nice lady, welcome back to the pod.
Welcome back.
Please note, the views and opinions shared by our guests are just that, opinions. They do not necessarily reflect our own views on topics discussed. So please keep an open mind while listening, as nothing about our podcast is meant to be hurtful or exclusive. Thanks for joining.